Okay, we're underway with live streaming again, so welcome back to any those that are watching the live stream or still out in the foyer. I'm not sure if there's any there. So I now take you to page 50 of our open agenda, and we're looking at 3.3, that the Horowhenua District Council's preferred option for the future of the Levin landfill for the purpose of public consultation is 1, that Council closes the Levin landfill in 2022, or 2, that the Council closes the Levin landfill no later than 31st of December 2025, or 3, that the Horowhenua District Council continues to operate the Levin landfill until its consents expire in May 2037 or sooner if consented capacity is reached. I am going to move and start this debate by moving the recommendation of option 1, that the Council closes the Levin landfill in 2022. Can I have a seconder for that motion, please? Deputy Mayor Mason, thank you. So in moving this option, I know this has been and will continue to be a contentious issue, regardless of what happens tonight and what option we actually go to consultation with our community. But for the Hokio community, for the Peri-Raukawa Hapu and the wider environmental community, who have fought for many years to make us come to a decision around this future, today is a landmark day. There is no doubt that those sectors of the communities where they stand on this issue, they want the landfill closed and as soon as possible. It is a complex issue, so to have gone to the extent of ensuring we are getting the best possible advice on the future of the landfill has been key. I believe we have been diligent and taken the time to understand the issue, and now is the time to make a decision and move ahead. Today's option decision has already been delayed a year, so that we could undertake that due diligence, and I am thankful we have been delivered a credible and comprehensive business case and wellbeing report. What has helped me support option 1 is the overwhelming evidence that these reports have produced to support that option being the best outcome for this district. Any other option for me is clearly not sustainable and contains too many risks in Horowhenua District Council trying to play landfill business owners, which it does not have the expertise for and which could end up costing this community much more than the considerable amount it will cost us, regardless of what decision we make. The history of the old dump is not exactly littered with many positive moments, and while the new landfill does not necessarily have many of the same issues, there can be no doubt that if we keep the landfill open, it will cost this community very dearly into the future, not just economically, but socially, culturally, and environmentally. This is not an easy decision, but there are decisions that we have to make sometimes that we don't necessarily agree with on a philosophical or ideological basis. And there are some decisions which are easy because they are the right thing to do. For me, this is one of them. It is the right thing to do. There is some justification in the areas as to why maybe we should keep this landfill open. But when I look at the whole issue, these reasons do not outweigh the conclusive evidence why we should close this landfill now. There will be some saying that we are not considering the interests of the whole district, only those of the Hokio community. I refute that. We are showing that we care about the future. We are showing that we care about a sustainable and vibrant environment. I also know that if we choose option 3 today, we know what the consultation and submission period will look like. But if we choose option 1, we are making those that want to keep the landfill open to mobilise and present us the case to keep it open, so that we get a clear mandate to make a decision one way or the other. So I look forward to the consultation period to see if there are views out there in our community that actually disagree with option 1. So, any further discussion or debate on the matter? Good old Councillor Allen. Thank you, David. Your turn.
I've never enjoyed silence. So, look, I'm going to be fairly brief in this. I entered into this, the briefings, the workshops, the considerations around what is probably one of the most significant decisions, not just in this triennium, but potentially over a decade for this district. And I entered into this briefing and these series of workshops, having been part of an earlier council where it fought long and hard for and won an outstanding consent for that landfill. It was a red letter day for Horowhenua when they got the consent of that magnitude to run the landfill. And we've seen, in fact, that in many ways that consent has been honoured. Not in all ways, but in many ways it has. So I came into this item on the agenda wanting to test my belief that the landfill should continue. No predetermination, but wanting to test it. Enter Morrison Solutions and the workshops and the briefings that they have held with us. And in terms of the credibility of the organisation, it's acknowledged that they have followed best practice. The best business case analysis, I think, is the jargon for that. So there is credibility in that. And what does their conclusion talk to? In terms of the three options, the only one that has the green light, the green dot beside each of them, is option one. So that's to say that from a strategic point of view, it's the preferred option. From the financial point of view, it is a preferred option. From the well-beings, all four well-beings, everyone is green-lit, and also in terms of risk. Economically, option 3 sits alongside it as being credible, but there are those real challenges with option 3 in terms of the costs that are going to occur through the ETS, and that's a point that's been emphasised very strongly. There's also the risk about a small player, Horowhenua District Council, trying to run this landfill in the wake of some huge competition, and the financial risks and the risks to the people of our district in trying to take on such adversaries. So, on reflection, I do support option 1, and I have genuinely, as I say, been unsure, even this evening. You know, I was voicing concerns around where I was going to sit on this, but I support option 1, and a couple of things you said, Mr. Mayor, I endorse, and that is, it's not about putting our rubbish somewhere else, though that will happen. It's not about NIMBYism. It's about saying there are actually cleaner options. So New Zealand will benefit, not just us taking our rubbish elsewhere. And I also want to acknowledge what it must feel like to be a resident of Hokio through the years, and Pare Raukawa. I want to acknowledge what it must have been like for them, and to recognise the opportunities that will exist for that area without a landfill. So, Mr. Mayor, full respect to councillors who have put many challenges up during the process, a long and thorough process, but this now is me making my stand and acknowledging also, and I guess we will all be saying this, and we all should, that this is actually the start of the special consultative procedure. I started off by saying that I came into it wanting to test a position but without predetermination, and I pledge tonight that there is no predetermination when it comes to that consultative procedure. I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to start listening.
Thank you. Councillor Case.
So we are responsible today in making the right decision for our entire community to encourage and improve and heavily educate the reduce, recycle, waste minimisation management plan mantra, and to use this opportunity to continue improving on our solid waste practices overall, as has been discussed. We put so much pressure on our surrounding environment, and we need to start reflecting on that and how our personal choices have impacted on how we live and how we manage the rubbish that we all literally create. And accept that there is always a considerable cost in making this happen. And I did come with a reasonably open mind tonight, and heard what everyone had to say, and I'm in support of going out to consult on option 1.
Councillor Kedu.
Kia ora koutou. Kei te maumahara hau ngā kōrero o te tātou tupuna hei mua i a tātou. Ngā kōrero e pāne ki te chaki mai tō tātou whenua, e te wai te tangata. E mihi ana kia koutou tō tātou mana whenua o te rohe nei. Anei rā, ngā kaitiaki o te kaunihere, ngā kōrero e pāne ki ngā take hei mua i a tātou. Nō reira e te whānau, nō reira tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou katoa. I think about some of my brothers, Muopoko brothers, and my Raukawa brothers that are here as tangata whenua and mana whenua. And the places that we used to go out to Hokio, and I used to take my children and my family, we used to go there. But even during my teaching days, I used to bring my students to Hokio and stay at Uncle Peter Huria's whare, and we to catch the tuneheke run. And those were special times for us. And now, you know, as I mentioned earlier, our Muopoko whānau and Piriris Koro used to come to our marae, and he used to show us the care that needs to take place when we're in Manaaki and care for our families. And all of our whānau here used to come to our marae, and the tuneheke was one of the taonga resources that we treasured within Māoridom, and we still do. And one of those taonga has been lost because of some of the degradation that we as people are not taking care of the things that we should be. So for me, you know, I think about all those whānau that are affected, and on that whenua and on this whenua here. So I'm voting for option 1 as well. Kia ora.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Your Worship. And yeah, this is certainly my time in council has been one of the more challenging matters in front of us, this table for sure. and I think we're all quite a ways heavy on us, the decision we're going to make for various different reasons, I guess. My position is that we currently have, and this is supported by our experts, a modern, largely compliant landfill. But advice is that it will become largely hugely expensive due to ETS and waste levy charges imposed by local government, central government. The extent of these, however, is still unknown in our assumptions, but obviously very learned assumptions. It's clear that the closure of the Living landfill immediately will not fix the leachate environmental issues coming from the old dump. But I accept that the landfill at some stage has to close. My concern is on the ongoing financial impact of our ratepayers across the district. And this will be significant, and I think we can't understate that. This will be significant. To an area that I've heard around this table since I've been here for now 9 years, our community can't afford it. We have a high deprivation levels, yet we don't blink about putting another cost immediately onto our ratepayers when we do have other options, which weighs heavily on my mind. Well, my preferred option would actually be something like what Councillor Tukapua raised earlier. Option 2, or a hybrid of, that would give us some time. And that allows for the continuation of the landfill agreement up to its expiry. It would give us time to really explore other options that may mitigate that impact on our ratepayer. But once again, I hear all the time the costs we impose on our ratepayers, but we're not blinking on this one. It give us time to find potential ways of mitigating those impacts by some operation of that landfill. And I'm not by any way doubting our expert advice. I think it's been thorough and as it should be, the expert advice that we should expect. I just something just resonates with me that what are we missing, and are we giving ourselves enough time to make sure before we impose this financial impact on our ratepayers, have we explored every option as thoroughly as we could have, as should have. I accept the Hokianga community do not want a landfill in their backyard, in the area. I also accept that the people at Bonnie Glen and the Rangitikei don't want it either. Whatever the decision we make, the decision has to be for the benefits of our whole community, not just part of. And we have heard all of the information. I won't be supporting option 1, although I accept that the majority around the table will. And that is, I accept in total. I will, however, do my best during the consultation period to ensure that our community and the public understand the impacts of this decision as we go out to consult. The wider impacts of it before we come back around this table to make that final decision. So I won't be supporting option 1, but I do accept the outcome. Thank you.
Councillor Jean.
I actually want to echo the comments of Councillor Brannigan. I agree with a number of comments he's made, but actually my position is more simple, which is that I don't think we should be making any decision tonight, and I've attempted to have this decision held over to another meeting, and that's simply because I don't have all the information I need. I have a number of concerns about the integrity of the process. I've asked for legal advice and been shut down around that. There are many questions that I have put to council that simply have not had an answer, and some of those questions were asked months ago. Mr. Mayor, I wrote to you on Monday outlining, I guess, my issues with the process and some of these things that I've just outlined. You didn't even give me the courtesy of a response. And again, councillors find themselves in a position where we are being rushed into making a decision at the 11th hour, and there are absolutely flaws in this process.
Deputy Mayor Mason.
I'd ask Councillor Jennings that he speaks for himself, not for other councillors.
No worries. There are absolutely examples of flaws in the process. And I want to give one really clear example. Coming back from public excluded, the Mayor didn't even give us an opportunity to ask officials questions in public. And we've got this complex situation with a business case with so many redactions. The plan was to release a business case so that, along with the agenda, so that the public could see with a small number of redactions. We get the business case with a third of the document redacted on Monday, and somehow we're supposed to navigate that through this public process. So, for that reason, I believe that elected members shouldn't be making or proposing to make a decision tonight. I think there is some predetermination around the table, unfortunately. And again, Mr. Mayor, I want to raise with you, you didn't ask a single written question in relation to the business case, at least that I saw. And in fact, during the briefings that we had, you asked 2 questions across 3 briefings. I just cannot believe that you have confidence in the package of information that is available when there are so many unanswered questions. So, look, there's a lot more I'd like to say, but I guess I can't because of how this process is run and because of confidentiality and because there seems to be a continued desire to shut down any conversation or any dissent around process. So I won't be supporting option 1 or any other option tonight.
Can I respond? First of all,
So point of order, is this your right of reply?
no. But you've made several accusations levelled at me that I will respond to at some stage. But I agree that this is probably not the thing. But yeah, okay, I won't. It's not worth it. Anyone else wants to speak? Councillor Rice.
Yeah, thank you. Very complex, and it's been a very long process, and it's been a very important process. I've considered everything myself, and I thank Morrison Solutions for what they've done, and all our fellow councillors, and I have answered a fair few questions myself. I know there's a fair few risks involved with keeping the landfill open, but there's also, to me, there's a big risk in shutting it too, because we open ourselves up to having no control for our community, which is only going to double in size, as we know, over the last 15 or 20 years. So unless the central government or someone can come up with a better plan for your rubbish than to go to a landfill, and there is not one there at the moment. And one day there will be, but at the moment there's not. And so I personally will be supporting option 3.
Councillor Mitchell.
Okay, it's going to be off the top of my head. So, we've had Morrison Solutions and Burl and Stantec give us a considerable amount of information. And for me, it all points to the fact that it's not financially viable. Definitely option 2 does not stack up. Option 1 and option 3 are sort of even, depending on the risk appetite that you have. Ever since 2004, when this landfill consent came through, it was supposed to be the goose that laid the golden egg. It was supposed to be the answer to our alternative to rates. It was going to bring money into the district. And all it seems to have done to me is cost us money. We took a risk then, and it hasn't paid off. It's going to keep costing us money. And I'm not prepared to take the risk of trying to keep a landfill open that might actually lay the golden egg for us one day. Because in the environment, as we've been told, the big players can outcompete the small players. Operational costs are pretty much the same whether you're small or big. There's no way that we can compete financially with a big player. So even though I hate to do it, and it's going to cost us money to close the landfill, it could cost us a lot more to keep it open, and I'm not prepared to take that risk. I think it's time to move on, and for the Horowhenua to actually start a new era of waste, thinking about waste, not producing as much waste, people actually making use of what they've got, reusing things, recycling things, composting, actually getting back to the nitty-gritty and not producing so much waste. So in the long run, it doesn't cost people so much money to take their waste out of the district. There won't be nearly as much waste per person to go out, I would hope. The whole world is entering an era now where we've just used and abused to excess for years, making rubbish, buying junk that just ends up in landfills, and it's time to look at things in a totally different way. There's certainly opportunity for us to set up something here where people can actually take their stuff they don't want and other people can reuse it. We just need to look at rubbish in a totally different way and try and minimise what we're doing, which will minimise everybody's costs for getting rid of what they really can't reuse or recycle. So I'm going to have to go with option 1. I think it's the right thing to do in the environment in the world nowadays. And it's up to people who definitely want to keep it open to submit to us with some jolly good business cases and reasons why it should be, and who knows, we may change our minds in February. It happened last month for the representation review. Minds were changed through submissions. It could possibly happen again, but at the moment I'm going to have to go out with option 1 for consultation.
Councillor Tipapo.
Okay, so just cut me off if I say something I'm not supposed to, because I don't really know how I'm going to do this well. How do I explain myself? Just go dip. So I'll just start by saying our solid waste activity needs a complete overhaul. There are so many parts to this, and a lot of information that if the general public out there could see it, they'd understand, for some of us at least, why it's not as straightforward
it's not just about the landfill in isolation, because there's so many implications, and there's parts of the waste stream that we control and there's parts that we don't, and I can't say the tonnage, but I don't agree, therefore, with that option 2 is not financially viable, because if there were different scenarios, or like a proper business case, because I feel like some of it was a little bit, no disrespect, like it is on the whole a good report, but there are parts of, like when you, I wouldn't necessarily agree with the summation of the like, I think the tonnage, your estimations and what I could get quite different opinion. And for the public, there was actually 5 options, and I prefer number 5, and it's not even on the list for you to see. So I think I could say what it is, because that's not yellow. It would have been investing in a waste-to-energy plant. Yeah. And this is why I would have preferred still honouring the agreement, so closure by 2025, so that those things could be, there'd be time for those things to come online or further investigate. But anyway, it is 1, 2, 3 tonight. I have some issues around, which is why I would really love to hear in this consultative process, though I did ask, were you engaged with prior to this, because that would be better. I'd like to hear from Ngāti Apa and the Ahika group of the Rangitike district, whether, receiving our waste is okay with you, and why. Perhaps there have been conversations iwi to iwi already. I'm not too sure. I'd love to do site visits to these alternative options, which we haven't done, and there's like all these kinds of we have multiple, can I say, contracts in the background doing different parts of solid waste, and the timing is all different, and this is why I'm saying the whole activity, in order for our community to truly benefit and have a full solution, that's what would need to happen. But we're doing bit by bit, and it's quite frustrating, because I don't feel like we could get the only, I won't say the name, but the only one who's won in the last 20 years, well, it's certainly not the neighbourhood of the landfill, and it's the environment obviously impacted, cultural impacts, etc. So there's no winners there. There's only one winner. It's certainly not the council. And if we just shut down the landfill and send it to, win, they win again. Like, that bothers me. And like PMG, I was a little bit disappointed with your answer in one of our briefings, because you were asked, what do you think we could do if we close this landfill? What else? Do you have any ideas, or nothing? They said, no, that's your problem. That's your job to do. We just want it closed, and that's all we're focused on, and you come up with the next steps. Well, yeah, I get that, but actually, if you were truly invested in the benefits of the whole community, you would at least consider it and give us some sort of a steer or something, but no, it was totally rejected. Disappointed. Yeah, there's not too much more I could say because I'm not allowed to say it. It makes it very difficult. So, no, I would not keep the landfill open till 2037, certainly not. The preference so far is 1. I told you mine would be 5 if I could choose it. And 2 I thought would be a reasonable medium until such time as we can get a full solution. But there you have it. You'll hear my vote at the end.
In that case, we will put the vote, and again, I will call for a division.
Point of order, did you wish to use the right of reply?
No, I don't think so. I think there's been enough said. Thank you. So, Deputy Mayor Mason. Councillor Bishop. Councillor Kay Simmons.
For.
Councillor Isaacs.
Against.
Councillor Mitchell.
For.
Councillor Kedu. Councillor Allen.
For.
Councillor Puri Hiratukapua.
As a preference for.
Sorry?
For.
For.
Against.
Councillor Jennings. Councillor Brannigan.
Against.
And I'm voting for. Thank you. So the motion is carried 7-4. Thank you. Thank you for your input. So we now move to 3.4 and 3.5. 3.4, that the Horowhenua District Council uses the special consultative procedure to consult with its community using the following dates. The consultation document will be available to the public on the 30th of November 2021. The period for making submissions will run from 30th of November 2021 to 5 p.m. on 31st of January 2022. And 3.5, that the Horowhenua District Council acknowledges the recommendation of the Chief Executive that the Levin landfill close in 2022, thus meeting the obligations set out in clause 11.1a of the 2019 Levin landfill agreement. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Mitchell, seconded Councillor Kay Simmons. Councillor Jennings.
Is there any scope for discussion around this? So what I wanted to ask was, what will be the step to ensure that elected members are comfortable with the contents and level of information in the proposal document? I raise this because I have some concerns about what are proposed to be redactions in the business case. I don't believe there's a justified basis to withhold some things. So I just want to understand what the process will be around that proposal document.
The consultation document will come back to Council for adoption on the 24th of November.
Councillor Brannigan.
You just need some direction from the C, please. In terms of the submission period, 30 November to 31 January, Council was actually shut down for a fair bit of January. Is there a reason why does it have to be a specified period, or because Council will be shut down for some time, obviously, and could that affect the submission process? Is all I'm asking.
So the process was identified for 2 months to allow the community a fair chance to provide input. There will be drop-in sessions held over that period of time for the community to come in and have a conversation with someone about the landfill, so it won't hinder the time with council being closed.
Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, I had the same concern because I understand that council will be closed down over the Christmas break, so any sessions, it says here there'll be sessions with officers and councillors in that 2-month period, but we're coming up to Christmas and then it's basically, so it's going to be pre-Christmas and what, a week or two at the end of January that would be able to happen?
Those sessions will be held right the way through, so not just in that final week. So Morrison Solutions will also run those, and they will be identified out within the consultation document as well. So you will approve those dates going through. They won't be just before Christmas and at the end of January. It'll be through that period.
Sorry,
Councillor Casson.
can I just ask, when in February did you say it finished? I missed that. The concert.
So the consultation period ends the 31st of January. Following that, there will be hearings, deliberations, and final decision on the 10th of February. So I'll put those 2 recommendations. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. So that brings us to the end of our open agenda. Thank you to a member of the press that remained throughout. Your stamina is noted. It's a young and clean, yeah. We will now be adjourning or moving back into in committee to discuss those issues that we have remaining in that agenda. We just need a little bit of time for the live streaming to finish.